Hi, I'm Sally and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you the 10 things I did to lose the baby weight. My son is now over a year old, but I have some pictures for you. In this picture, you can see me 2 weeks postpartum, COVID times, and you can see that I am thin, but my belly is super soft. And then here you can see me 6 months postpartum. So I would say I was in a pretty good shape at that point. And then here you can see me 9 months postpartum. And I would say that I was back in my pre-pregnancy shape 6 months postpartum. And then 3 months postpartum, I had lost all my baby weight. So 3 months postpartum, I was back at my pre-pregnancy weight. And then 6 months postpartum, I was back in my pre-pregnancy shape, because I think there is a difference between weight loss and feeling healthy in your body again. Also, what you have to know is, to be like 100% transparent, I was also in a pretty good shape pre-pregnancy. So if your goal is to be in a better shape than pre-pregnancy, of course that is a little bit more challenging. I'm not saying that it's not possible. It's definitely possible. Everything is possible that you want to achieve. But for me, 6 months postpartum, I was in my pre-pregnancy shape and not in a better shape. And then also during pregnancy, I didn't gain an excessive amount of weight. I was in a pretty normal range. I gained 11 kilos, which is 25 pounds during pregnancy. Some weight to lose, but not a crazy amount of weight to lose. I postpartum didn't feel super comfortable in my body because it was just, everything was so soft, and you probably feel the same way, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. But I think it is very important for us to take a break and to realize that we grew a baby inside of our body and we gave birth to a human being. So I totally understand that you're not super happy with yourself at the moment, but be kind to yourself, okay? Your body did a lot of things, and I think if we're nicer to our body, then it will be so much easier to reach our weight or body goal or whatever that is that you are trying to achieve. Okay, now let's jump into the 10 things that I did to lose the baby weight. So the first 2 things are things that are relevant for when you're pregnant. If you are not pregnant anymore, maybe you can skip the first 2 things, but I exercise consistently during pregnancy, meaning that I worked out 2, sometimes 3 times a week. Of course, not that intense as I used to work out pre-pregnancy. Working out consistently is super important, because when you give birth, for a few weeks, you cannot work out, and you should not work, and I didn't work out. And it is very helpful if you still have some muscles that are burning fat for you. So if you're pregnant, make sure that you do workouts. There are lots of pregnancy workouts on my channel, something that I can definitely recommend. And then the second thing is taking my prenatal vitamins. I can link you down below the one that I took, and that is so important because studies have found that nutrient deficiencies can lead to an increased amount of cravings. So if your body is lacking iron or B12 or whatever, then you might crave specific foods, also unhealthy foods. So it is super important to take your prenatal vitamins. And then also postpartum, also still important to take your prenatal vitamins. You can just continue taking your prenatal vitamins, and that's what I did, because again, you don't want to get any nutrient deficiencies because that can lead to cravings. So really make sure that you have all the nutrients in your body that you need. Of course, you can just take a prenatal vitamin and think that your body doesn't need anything else. You of course need to eat healthy and get the most important nutrients from food, but especially when you're breastfeeding, there are so many nutrients that go to your baby, and you just need to get new minerals, vitamins, etc. into your body through those prenatal vitamins. The next thing, number 3, once I gave birth, I really didn't do anything for 6 weeks. Like, I tried to rest as much as possible, sleep as much as possible. Of course, that's like sleep. What is sleep if you have a baby? But just like try to lie next to your baby as much as possible, because I really wanted to make sure that especially my uterus goes back into its original position and all your organs basically find their way back. Because if you start working out too early, it is actually pretty dangerous, because your body has not recovered yet, and you can hurt more in your body than do something good for your body. So tip number 3, rest for 6 weeks until you get cleared by your doctor. You can do meditations, maybe some stretchings, but I wouldn't do any exercises until you're cleared by your doctor, which is for me, I had a natural birth. So that was 6 weeks postpartum. And then for women that have a C-section, for most, it's 10 weeks postpartum. Number 4 intermittent fasting. Okay, that sounds like a diet and you probably think that I'm crazy, but wait, listen to me. It is not a diet and it's just something that I love. So intermittent fasting is basically an eating method that tells you when you eat, not what you eat, but when you eat. And you give your body a food break of 14 to 16 hours. You can decide how many hours you wanna do, but I took a food break of 14 hours. That sounds like a lot, but if you consider that you're actually sleeping, then it's not that much. And the first weeks postpartum, I was in bed so many hours. I wasn't just in bed for 6 hours or 8 hours, but I was like in bed for 10 hours, 11 hours, because you wake up so often and you just need more rest. So I stopped eating around 7 p.m. and then I had breakfast at 10 a.m., which doesn't sound too crazy. Some people do it unintentionally. I only did 14 hours. You could also do 16 hours, but I think especially when you're breastfeeding, it is very difficult to go without food for 16 hours. My goal wasn't to lose excessive amount of weight, just a little bit. So I went for 14 hours. Again, when you're breastfeeding, you are hungry all the time. So it might be very challenging to do that. For me, it wasn't super hard, again, because I was in bed and I wasn't hungry while I was lying in bed. But if that is something that doesn't work for you because you're just hungry, then don't do it. If you're hungry, eat. There are a lot of other things that I did that I'm going to share with you. So yeah, don't force it. What is the science behind intermittent fasting? After 12 hours without eating anything, your sugar stores are empty. So then your body goes into a fat burning mode. So the longer you can go without putting something in your mouth, eating, the longer you're in this fat burning mode. So for me, it was 2 hours. For people that do 15 hours, it's 3 hours. For some, the sugar stores are already empty after 11 hours, so it totally depends. But that is the science behind it. If you are very strict, you cannot have any milk in your coffee. The only thing that you can have in this during this eating break is black coffee, tea, and water. No diet sodas or anything like that, because that still is going to spike your insulin and your body is going to think that you just ate something and it's going to stop the fat burning. So the next thing is breastfeeding. I nursed for 5 months. I wanted to breastfeed for 6 months, but I couldn't make it because I had so many issues with nursing, clogged ducts and stuff like that. So yeah, I stopped after 5 months. If you're not breastfeeding, there are other things that you can do. I'm not saying that you need to breastfeed to lose weight. That is definitely not the fact. It's just something that worked well for me because when you breastfeed, you burn 500 calories more per day. And if you don't consume 500 calories more, then the likelihood is very high that you are going to be in a calorie deficit and lose some weight. So that is working for many women. But also when you're breastfeeding, you are very hungry. For some it works, for some it doesn't. For me, it definitely worked. But again, don't be encouraged if you cannot breastfeed. There are other things that you can do. My next tip is to eat proper meals. So again, once I had breakfast, which was like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., I really had a big breakfast. I had most of the time whole wheat bread with avocado, or I made myself a porridge. I ate quite a lot. So I would be full at the end of my meal and I couldn't go without any snacks until lunch, which would then be just like 2 or 3 hours later. And then also for lunch, I had a proper meal where I was sitting down, eating my food, looking at my food, and then the same thing for dinner. Sometimes I had snacks. I'm pretty sure I had snacks in between, maybe not between breakfast and lunch because there wasn't much time between breakfast and lunch. Between lunch and dinner, I definitely had snacks because I was breastfeeding and I was quite hungry. But I think if you sit down and eat a proper meal, then you realize that you're now really eating something, and then at the end you're really full and you can go without any snacks for a little while at least. And then one advice on that, because you're probably thinking, how am I supposed to prepare a proper meal with my newborn? And I get it. If you're pregnant, I suggest that you start preparing food and freeze it. If you already gave birth and your friends and family ask how they can help you, ask them to prepare a healthy dish for you that you can put in the freezer. 4 to 6 meals, and then you can freeze them, and once you want lunch or dinner, then you can take it out of the freezer and eat it. Or if you have time, Once in a while when your baby is sleeping, maybe you can like prepare a big pot of food and then freeze some of those meals. That's what I did. Actually, I asked my father-in-law prepare 4 healthy vegan meals, 1 lentil soup, 1 chili sin carne, whole wheat pasta, curry. And every pot had like 4 servings. So I put them all in like little Tupperware and put it in the freezer. And I was good for a few weeks. The next thing I did is I tried to eat as many plant-based meals as possible. I am not 100% vegan. I am vegetarian, I don't eat meat, but I eat fish. But I really try to eat as little cheese and milk as possible. And I am very convinced that this helped me with my weight loss. So this was now a lot about nutrition, now exercising. So again, I didn't exercise for 6 weeks postpartum, and then I started with walks. I walked every single day for about 40 to 60 minutes. My baby didn't like to be in a stroller, so I used a baby carrier. I strapped him on me and then I walked for 40 to 60 minutes, most of the time with my mom, but sometimes I asked a friend if they would take a walk with me. It was COVID times, still is COVID times. It's good to be outside if you want to meet with a friend. So I took these walks and burned quite a lot of calories during that walk. And it was also nice for my baby because fresh air and he would sleep. So that was pretty cool. And then the other thing in terms of exercising, also 6 weeks postpartum, I started slowly with resistance training. So meaning that I did exercises with my own body weight 2 to 3 times a week. So at the beginning, only 2 times a week, and then later on 3 times a week. I only exercised for like 20 to 30 minutes. My baby was with me, and most of the time I put him just next to me and then did my workout right next to him. And that is definitely something that I recommend. Do the walks for cardio and then resistance training to build some lean muscles. So those lean muscles bring you back in shape and that they also burn calories. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that quite a lot of women are currently doing my 8-week postnatal fitness program, and there I have all the workouts that I did postpartum. So if that is something that you're interested in, check the info box below. And then the last thing that I did was I had diastasis recti after I gave birth. It wasn't a huge gap. I had a 2-finger width gap. So I really made sure that I wouldn't stress my 6-pack muscle. So no crunches, no sit-ups, no planks, no push-ups, nothing that would put too much pressure on my 6-pack. And instead I worked my transverse abdominis and my obliques, so my deep core muscle and my side abs. So I would close the gap, because what many don't know is if you have diastasis recti, that is very often the cause for the mummy tummy, like this little pouch that makes you still look pregnant months after delivery. So yeah, it is super important to prevent any exercises that could make it worse, but to actually train those muscles that heal the gap. So that's what I did, and I can definitely recommend doing that. Again, if you do my program, then you know that everything in there is covered. That's what I did. That were my 10 things that I did. I want to say again, be kind to your body. Stress less, worry less. I think it's great to be ambitious and want to do something about yourself, but take it slow. Day by day, improve your lifestyle, improve your sleep, be kind to yourself. If you like these kinds of videos, then please give me a thumbs up and make sure that you subscribe to my channel, the red button, and I see you in my next video.